I'm not
A very
everything.
good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mongo Shampagi. On the day when the social media tax starts biting, government started enforcing the social media tax. A lot of people are off social media today. Some have been able to bypass and are able to communicate, but we'll be discussing that. What does it mean? What can government get out of that? Is it actually a viable tax to collect? We'll discuss a bit of that. But yesterday, women in Uganda held the first successful demonstration to protest against, or to demonstrate against, the murder and kidnap of women and girls, which has been going on for some time, after a bit of pulling off the rope between the police and the activists who organized, who put together the demonstration. For some time, they had successful meetings with senior police officials, and later they were sent a denial letter from the Inspector General of Police, Martin Okoth-Ochola. But later, after meeting with the Minister for Internal Affairs, Jeje Odong, the demonstration happened yesterday, one of the few to happen successfully, and I'm told without a lot of incident. We'll be taking that to audit. It has also been described as a demonstration with 1,000 motives. What does that mean? We'll be discussing that. With me in studio tonight, I have Onapito Ekomoloit, his Corporate and Legal Affairs Director at Nile Breweries AB InBev. Ona, always a pleasure to be with you.
Good evening, Charles, and good evening, viewers.
Very great to have you after a journey from upcountry, I understand.
Yeah,
be able to make it.
Part of the game.
We also have Nana Annette. Nana is an activist and a businesswoman. Nana, very nice to have you.
I'm pleased to be here today.
And we have Rosbel Kagumine making a return into the studio of NTV and on the Fourth Estate. Rosbel is a journalist, is a blogger and an activist. Very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles.
And we might be joined by someone else along the way. We'll look into that. Let's start with this. I want to start with this social media tax. I don't know what you think about it. I don't know how it's beginning to bite, how it has affected
Why are you
you.
asking me? You should be having your own view, because
I have.
I imagine you are
definitely
affected.
I definitely do have a view,
Okay.
which I'll be sharing. But I wanted to start with you.
Look, for me, it's a blessing in disguise, because I think taxation is not an end, it's a means to an end. And I think for many years, the elite in this country have never followed the tax shillings. They have sat idly as the political class has done whatever it wishes with tax dollars. So tax shillings.
Tax shillings.
I hope this is going to be an awakening. Not necessarily, to me, I would not be so terrified by the tax per se, but by what it will do. Because there have been a lot of taxes, but have they done the right things? I'm sure if government, after 1 year, for example, can account for this social media tax in a way that is positive, especially for the telecoms and for the users of this social media, then nobody would complain. Because I believe tax is more like a saving, a national saving, a government taking money on behalf of the citizens and returning it at the right time in terms of services and goods. And we need to start questioning, is this the purpose of taxation? If it is not, then it must be challenged. And it means the elite, the main channel they have always been reminded is through elections. Will they now start holding politicians to account in terms of what hurts them? I see a lot of people are hurting, but is it just one of those cycles and then we forget about it? Or we're actually going to say, fine, you have imposed this money on us, what has it done? And if it has not done the right thing, we take out those.
You've been an MP before.
Yes, I've been.
You've worked very closely with the president. Also, you've worked in government. You've been an editor. You've run a newspaper. And now you work with a major multinational corporation.
Yes.
You know Ugandans very well.
I know Ugandans
think
very well.
The shock of this social media tax that people have experienced today will be sustained for a week? For a month?
Sadly, it won't be. I mean, it's just going to be one of those news cycles, and then people will move on, which is not, which is good and bad. It's nice to move on because life has continued, but I think it's also not good to move on and forget the purpose for which the tax is being imposed. I would not like to agree that, as some people have tried to suggest, that the president or the government has pushed for this to curtail access. I hope it's one of the revenue measures in order to improve the country, which ideally would be okay.
It would be okay.
Would be okay.
You said if I had an opinion about this, I have very strong opinion about this.
But just before you have your
Yes.
opinion, you know, for me, I have, for example, question pay as you earn, which largely hurts the elite. But for so long, we the elite who earn salaries have never questioned the rate of pay as you earn. 40% for the upper limit. Is
10
it
million and
justified?
above.
So I think it's now time for the elite to start questioning the taxation and do the right things in terms of either stopping certain taxes or supporting them.
And Nana, I want to come to you on this social media tax, because it's like one thing that for once brings almost all Ugandans, at least all Ugandans with capable of holding a smartphone, some of them are pretty cheap smartphones, has brought everybody together to say, is this a sensible tax? Are the government's intentions the right intentions in the right place? Are they in the right place? Even before you go to the fancy ideas that Ona suggests that the money is collected and
They are
put to
not
the right use.
fancy.
No, where the money goes is honestly a fancy idea. But that people believe, what is the actual motivation? Is the government desperate to raise money? Is the government... what, from your circles, as an activist, as a business person, how have Ugandans received this enforcement of the social media tax? Over the top OTT, over the top services from telecom companies?
I, Nalongo Nana, find this very interesting. It's an absurdity that Uganda would begin to tax children and teenagers and the youth. Uganda has almost the biggest number of unemployed youth. A big part of these youth have been indirectly employed by social media. Ask me how. If a youth is jobless, their smartphone is going to divert them from so much and from too many things. Uganda is now taxing its unemployed youth, little children, because you'll agree with me. I'm a mother of twins. My twin son asked me a few days ago, so mommy, is Uganda now taxing children? I said, how so? How do you mean? I was teasing, but I had already arrived at his question. And I can almost swear to you, I didn't even discuss this with him. But I could see this coming from school, from his classmates or some people. Because I would buy a phone, and soon as maybe the new kind of phone in my line comes on, I have maybe another phone whose screen is broken or something, and I'll pass it on to my 14-year-old to use maybe for games or find some answers on Google or something. So occasionally he will have 500 shillings. Mommy, can I wash your car? Can I have some data? I give him 1,000. He's cleaned my car tires. Uganda is coming to tax a 14-year-old who only seeks his teacher's answers from social media. Because I watch what my children do with this phone.
There's a feeling, if you had the president speak in support of this social media tax, he said Ugandans are wasting a lot of time on useless communication, insulting people. That's the perception. You bring in a different dimension of someone seeking answers from their teacher. How do you create a balance between rightful usage of social media and wrong usage of social media, including your 14-year-old son spending a lot of their time on social media instead of other what would be considered more meaningful engagement, doing homework, doing research, or actually helping with home chores?
I would say this to you. Usage of this social media, first, it's beginning with you have to spend to use it. Do I have so much money to have my son spend an entire day on that? Does his day even allow for him to spend lots of time on that? No. You have an employed youth. Instead of them being somewhere, you know the games that children played before. They hid, they met girls, they what. But today's youth might spend his time on this phone trying to find a job probably, than spend time trying to look for the neighbor's
meet a lot of
girl to make them pregnant.
He says they might spend a lot of time WhatsApping with a girlfriend.
Yeah, some virtual girlfriends, and which are destructive also.
The time in between him walking to the neighbor's girl to directly give them this and probably in the end even impregnate them is going to be
Spent
checked on the phone. Hi, is mommy home? Da 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 da. I haven't really started to suffer this, but you must agree that this phone has taken off a bit, a measurable amount of time that a jobless youth would spend elsewhere doing something very, very out of line. He's learning something as he does
I
this.
hear what you're saying, and I'm imagining data for 100 and compared with transport, either on a border or walking to the neighboring village where Napito stays to find the girl. And someone, if they didn't have extra money, it's convenient to convince even their girlfriend on phone, have a nice chat, and end it there without getting into physical contact. Maybe that's a different perspective.
That is the least use of social media. If that was the one they are taxing, they should.
You are a blogger. My bigger concern is this country, reputed to have some of the youngest population in the world, getting into the space which is engaging the youngest people in the world to communicate with each other. And I'm wondering what age, in terms of the era eons or whatever they call them, that the government is thinking. Because social media is not just about wasting time and sending insulting messages. That seems to have made some people uncomfortable. I'm actually not sure if it's actually an easy hanging fruit for government taxation. I don't know what you think.
I think the social media tax really has brings in a lot of issues when you're going to look at it. And it's not about children, only children. It's about all Ugandans. And when we think that only elite people use social media, we are actually very, we are not being honest and rooted in facts that people in my village use WhatsApp to communicate, to conduct businesses. You know, it's not only educated people, anyone, people in the market, people in I would like to continue, please. People in Kiseka market use WhatsApp to actually purchase spare parts from somewhere. So let's not think that this is only an elite thing or a young people's thing. And the nature and the spirit of this taxation is not, that's where we have to begin. When our president would like to control a nation as if it is family, it's not acceptable. You can't tell us that we are wasting time on it's our time, and we are citizens. We get to decide how we spend our time.
Isn't it in government's interest to make sure that your time is better used for the service both of yourself as an individual, so that you're not always crying to government?
We are not going to allow for you to police individual choices. That is where it is. People have the freedom. She's a businesswoman. I'm a blogger. I'm a journalist. You're not going. The president's job is not to allocate where I put my time in a day.
The president's job is as much to find revenues to run the important...
I am talking about the spirit of where this taxation came from. And it came as Lugambo tax. The president genuinely, concerned about where Ugandans are spending their time talking. Ugandans have freedom of expression in their constitution. And it does not say you cannot spend this hour,
Are you concerned, Rosbel?
So for me, I'm concerned about the use of such taxation, blanket taxation, double taxation, to curtail freedoms of people in this country to express themselves. You saw it today. People are not online.
Rosbel, you are a blogger, you are an activist, you are a journalist. are you concerned that Facebook owns WhatsApp, doesn't it?
But
Mark Zuckerberg, the owner, and the Americans who are generating all these social media apps are raking in billions of dollars on a daily. Governments, like the government of Uganda, have a majority of their young people hooked onto social media, and they're unable to get to cash in on this. How would they cash in if they wanted to?
The thing is that we have a whole Ministry of ICT. It should be able, at the end, it's funded. What alternatives have you brought to the table? You know, we are not the only ones. Facebook is an international, you know, company. It's used everywhere, whether in Europe or wherever. We have to realize the fundamental. It's not only Facebook. There's Twitter. All these services that we're talking about, and surprisingly also Tinder. If you go online dating, so it's a way to control every aspect of. You know, you're not saying people are wasting the time. For me, that spirit of trying to control a population on where they put their time and saying that they're insulting people. People will always insult somebody somewhere. That's the nature of life. There are laws to take care of that. So there's a side of freedom of expression. Then the side is really this the best way to get an income, like for the government to get an income. This is a cash-strapped government. We are in debt, you know. We have our public debt, I don't know, is both internal and external. It's really high. You have to see the times. The dollar has shot up, right? We are in hard economic times as a country. But we have to ask ourselves, is this the best way? Because at the same time, we are in a world where we are saying internet for all. And globally, even the UN, all these governments recognize that innovation, technology, you know, there's so many things that come attached to that. And when you kick off people, poor people who are just marginally surviving on the internet, if you add on 200 shillings and knock them off, that you're actually not doing enough for the economy. You're actually
I can see Nana has been itching to come in. I'm happy for you to come back into this discussion.
For example, 1st July, we have social media tax. A few weeks ago, KCCA officials pounced on people at a building that is just full of informal, tiny businesses. I mean, you have a wife, she's home, her baby's done nursing, and she must be somewhere to add to the income of the house, because we are at hard economic times. They bring papers. They want you to pay a fee to apply, to pay a tax for your little sticker that's on your shop saying, I'm called Nana, I am Nana's, and I am here. You have paid income tax as an informal business, very small, very small. A single girl or a girlfriend of someone or someone's wife whose husband only earns maybe $1 million, he saves up 2 million. Let me rent you something so you can do something. KCCA issued papers. They need you to pay, was it 18 or 28,000? You need to pay, to apply, to pay a tax for letting the public know that you operate a business that's not even 20 million capital, not 10 million. The best example I'll give is I and my neighbors. I had just walked from a bursar's office to beg. Can my twin son have this paid until 3 weeks later? You come to a business address and you find people, they are nameless. They don't even have tags. You have to ask, where are you from? Well, but fill this form in. Why? What is it for?
How do you think Nana...
This is one small informal business.
Yes. How do you think
it's paid KCCA at the start of the year. By second, they have seals on shops of single mothers, shops of struggling mothers, shops of grandmothers, selling what? A second-hand dress, a small old perfume, a little bit of lipstick. They have forms being supplied for them to get a fourth or third tax, because I personally pay income tax. I pay KCCA, which interestingly comes before even the budget is read. By second, third, you have seals of both KCCA and Uganda Revenue. They have one paper these days that just reads the same thing. So you don't know which is which. You don't know who to ask. If I do not have a public toilet in a big suburb like Ntinda, if my grandmother is going to come from Koboko in the morning to meet me, she does not really know where I have shifted to because my landlord is increasing the rent as per the taxes. Where can she go?
Ona, I
To
need,
ease herself.
Ona, I need you to, because I think
Now
It
you,
is
you can
insane.
finally,
no,
you
no,
can
Nana
finally,
raises
Taxes.
important
Talk of,
things.
Yes.
talk of social media tax.
Nana, I hear you.
There's already 3 taxes on me, a single mother who has children in schools that have been commercialized. You do not have a school put in place by KCCA or the Uganda government where you can comfortably put your child. The teacher in the school is stressed because they are not paid for 3 months. The bursar in the school is overwhelmed by the line on his door begging, can I put in a quarter of this school fees? Look
pay the
at
next-
this. Social media tax after
Nana, I hear
3
you.
taxes on a single mother.
I hear you.
Developed countries have a system put in place to support the different categories, especially of women,
Okay.
because women support society.
What Nana is saying is not unique to KCCA.
no.
I have had people in small towns up country receiving, there's a young man I would want to use as an example. He set up a small business of video games. He's never made 20,000 shillings in profit. He's been running this for 2 years. He receives someone from KCCA and says, you're registering a business name. No, not from KCCA, from Uganda Revenue Authority. You're registering a business name and you're expected to pay 100,000 shillings. So he calls me and he's consulting and I say, but how do you pay when you don't make profit? The people at Uganda Revenue Authority will tell you they do not tax you if you're not making a profit. But if you're going to look for businesses that are actually turning in a profit and therefore qualify to be paying these taxes, you'll hardly find any. There is an alliance, an unholy alliance, I've been told, between local governments and the Revenue Authority to collect as much tax as they can. The government is definitely stressed. The exchange rate of the dollar to the shilling today has gone up. I think it was Tony Glencross who tweeted 138 times, 138% between 2008 and today. The exchange rate from the Ugandan dollar of 1987, 1988, 1989, we are shy of hitting the rate before the currency reform by 2,000 shillings, I've been told. Because if you're closing in on 4,000 today, that exchange rate was at 6,000 shillings. If the economy is this stressed, does introduction of new taxes actually help government to deal with its problems?
Of course, I share Nana's, and many viewers share her pain. But, Charles, I just say that with or without a new tax, there is a problem, which is articulated. And I was saying it's a blessing in disguise when people are outraged about a new tax, which in many respects people would say it's actually a smallest tax in the bigger picture. It's just touching so many people. Just hold on. Can I put
facts?
You want me to give my view or you want me to echo your view?
No. I don't want to take my view. You say it's a small tax.
I'm saying in the bigger picture.
Yes. Can I
the
just
kind of
clarify?
taxes she's complaining about
Can I put facts?
are much more heavy.
Yes, I just want to put facts on the table. The telecom companies, the major 3,
Yeah.
MTN, Airtel, and Africell, issued a statement on Friday on these OTT, over-the-top taxes. And they're asking, you either pay 200 shillings per day, which is 1,400 shillings per week, or 6,000 shillings per month. 6,000 shillings times 12 would come to about, how much would that be? How much would that be? 72,000?
Yeah.
Yes, someone is saying about 72,000. But you're paying 18% VAT on every airtime purchase you do. So if you buy airtime of 10,000 shillings, 1,800 shillings is VAT. On top of that, you're paying excise duty, which is at 15% now, 12%. I think it's the bank one that has been put at 15%. That means from every 10,000 shillings of airtime you purchase, 3,000 is an automatic government tax in excise duty and VAT. Add to that social media tax.
And the mobile money tax.
Mobile money is coming in at 1%. The interesting calculations that people have made. I mean, if
So
you're going to take...
you are just
yes.
illustrating my
Yes.
point that in that litany of taxes, the social media tax may be the smallest, but it's just adding to the pile. But I'm saying it's a blessing in disguise if people genuinely believe what she's raising. They should now use this as an opportunity to question the other taxes. And my point still is this: I believe taxation is a necessary evil only if it turns around the situation she's complaining about. But
ladies and
even without taxation
Thank
or
you.
without a new tax,
Thank you.
and the situation is as bad as she's articulating,
Yes.
the problem is there.
thank you.
Problem
So
is
I would not say that we don't need taxation. We need taxation for the right purpose.
I agree with you. For
Hold it,
any
Nana.
nation to go forward,
Yes.
I mean, you must put together a bag that collects for you as a society, as a nation. I told you, in a tiny informal business, what does the business do? The girl wakes up at 6 or 5. She needs to run to a window, pick a shoe, pick a dress, to get 5,000 of it. She has income tax, I remind you, even when she does not even make 50,000 a day. She has the rent to pay to a landlord who increases his rent at will. No one checks this landlord. He might ask for his rent in dollars. He is asking for his rent in the shilling mode. Who is checking these people?
Okay. I'm afraid we need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll be switching to discuss the demonstration, because the demonstration against the killing and kidnappings of women is related. It may not be about the taxes, but it is related.
Bring
in a way.
about the taxes any day.
We'll come back. We'll come back to this discussion after a very short commercial break. We need to make some money so that we can be able to survive here.
Go on.
We'll be right back. You're still watching The Fourth Estate, and we're discussing social media tax, women's protest, major protest that took place in Kampala yesterday. I don't know, major, it was billed as a million women march. Million women march. I don't know if we had a million women on the streets of Kampala yesterday, but the demonstration did take place. We're also talking about social media tax, and we'll continue a kind of mix of this discussion, because where is the money going is another question which Honor was raising. I was looking at the new list from public service allowances for government officials, and the increase of salaries, the phased increase of salaries for public servants. Some people are excited about it, but it also tells you how strong our currency is, the shilling is, and the general health of the economy. We have in studio, I have Rosebel Kagumere, who is a blogger, a journalist, and an activist. I also have Nana Annette, who is a businesswoman and an activist, and of course, Onapito Ekomoloi. I want to start with the women, with the ladies in the studio tonight. The demonstration yesterday, did you participate?
Of course.
Did you?
I
you-
did. I
you-
have
you-
my voice somewhere else. I lost my voice, they say. Because amidst all that, I had to say so much about how I needed my security there, now, today, and immediately.
Why did you? Why was this demonstration important? I saw the letter that the IGP wrote back to you, because you and Dr. Stella Nyanzi of Makerere University and other women were at the center of this organization. And yesterday you managed to pull in the US ambassador and the French ambassador. I don't know if they came simply because they're women or they came to lend diplomatic support. The IGP wrote to you and said the issues you wanted to demonstrate about had been responded to. First, through a security chief's briefing to the nation, televised on multiple platforms and broadcast on radio stations, and that the president had addressed Parliament about your concerns. Did you still need to do a demonstration? Why?
Yes, we still needed to do a demonstration. Number one, when we first approached the police headquarters to notify that we needed to say something about this, they said no. They didn't just diplomatically say no. They didn't say no like the police, the trained police. They said no with arresting our legal team.
No, that's inaccurate. You held a meeting at the police with Assistant Inspector General of Police, Asan Kasinje.
Okay.
It went extremely well from both of you, the police and you,
But
the
that was
activists.
after.
Just a moment. Before, you held a meeting with Deputy Inspector General of Police, Assistant Inspector General of Police, the Deputy Chief of Police, Mzei Sabiti. You held, I don't know if you held a meeting with Martin Okoth Ochola,
No.
if you didn't meet him. But you had successful meetings at the police.
Okay, what you're talking about came right after. We go to the police the first time. We camp at Human Rights Commission, is it? Right
in
opposite
Naguru.
the gate.
In Agoro,
And,
the Kampala office for
yes,
Uganda Human Rights
yes.
Commission. Yes.
We really think we are expected at the police to put an agenda to petition the police about our issues. And when we get there, as I drove in personally, I made a call to someone. There's so much deployment. There's a truck full of, you know, dark-skinned men and unusual dressing. Are they for us? A few women? We were yet to discover.
I thought you were
get-
going to a police headquarters, so you expect police to be at the police headquarters.
I use that route sometimes. I'm a businesswoman. I roam about. That place is never having people with the shields, guards. That dark. There is a truck on the corner by Kembabazi. It has more of them jumping off the truck. I made a call to wonder if this was not for us. So anyway, I advanced to human rights. I tried to access the police, but looking at how the whole situation had been, you know, darkened up, there's many people looking really mean and ready. I turned into human rights where we were supposed to, you know, collect and, you know, walk in. And there is already commotion. The human rights people, the ones that rent those premises or whatever, and quote me, they are calling these human rights. They were already in the mood of, people, please exit. Exit, we can't handle this. Because there were police people walking in and giving stern warnings. Do not come out of here and leave the place. So I get in, Stella is there, we had our chairperson, Godiva. Appearances of police lately, it scares of people. What's going on? Why do we have camouflage men waiting in a mean mode?
Even there were no women.
There were women too. So we are in there, we are preparing. We had a few additives. We women come in different passions. There were maybe a couple of coffins, there were some gauze, we have a situation, we want to be artistic. Women are that way, we are creative. I sensed the situation. Not all of us that had advanced were ready for being, you know, thrown on trucks and thrown in dirty jail cells. I sense it. The convener, Stella, she's very brave. She's like, we will do this. She's questioning, if you are human rights face, why are you telling us to exit? We are not leaving. The chairperson, who is also a lawyer, thinks maybe we should comply and leave the premises. They think we should leave the premises. They are getting pressure from the police. Stella is like, we are women. We came to assert our rights. We are not leaving the premises. I saw it getting heated up. I ran out. There is like a business area, supermarket, where I'd parked my vehicle. I told myself, Nana, quickly, before these people pounce on us and beat us and do things they've done to women before, you know, and dress us and humiliate us, I had to do something. Quickly, I sat in my vehicle. I started it. Slowly, I passed through. This side has camouflage men. They are really mean looking. I mean, if you're not used to these things, if you have not even lived in Uganda in the past maybe 3-4 years, you cannot believe that this can happen where it's not a war zone. I drive my car into the police. My heart's beating. I don't know if they will let me in. I don't know if they've really noticed I've been here. So I get in. I'm a smart woman. You know, when women are determined to do something, I'm very smart. They would never have let me in. They'd already gotten a signal not to let in, I think, any woman. Any woman.
That's when? You're talking about when? When was that?
This is 5th, is it 5th Tuesday? Is it
5th
Tuesday,
June.
4th? June. One of these dates. I'll come to how the dates got mixed up. I advance the first checkpoint. I open my car, I comply. He's checking the car. Madam, where are you going? I said, I need to see someone at the IGP's office. Why? Because I knew that this petition was being brought to the IGP's office. He said, do you have an appointment? I said, no. Then quickly, I'm telling you, I'm a smart woman. I asked him, why do we have all this deployment here? You know, why are you coming? Are you on appointment? I'm seeing him really probing. Am I a part of this? Because I think they've been signaled.
So trying to separate you from the other
from the
activists
other,
who are
because I
easily
knew the
identified.
moment I let him know I'm a part of this. Okay, do you have an appointment? I don't have one, but I believe I can see him. It's a public office, right? Okay, he let me in. I rode in quickly. I continue to be a smart woman. I'm here to see the IGP or other in his office. That form you must specify.
The
I
reason.
am Nana, I am Ugandan, and I am here to see ABC, and the reason. Well, about the reason I could not lie. Much as I'm smart, I will not get
Caught in
the
line.
way. So it's about the women's thing. To my surprise, very quickly, people walked me up to the level that has the IGP's office. I was led to IGP's personal assistant office. I entered, I greeted him, and I told him, well, I'm called Nalongo Nana. I came here as a part of women that are across over there. We had a mission. We came to petition the IGP about this, and we thought we had communicated to you about it. Why do we have such a situation where we are being waited for, like we pose some harm to this particular office? He called in someone. Did you see the letter? No. To me, I concluded, maybe when the letter came in, it was trashed.
Fast forward, Nana, because I wish we had all evening to discuss this. But you held a successful demonstration yesterday.
We did.
Yes. How did you arrive at that? How did it happen?
We pushed. We showed them that a woman, especially a woman is who? A woman is your mother, a woman is your auntie, a woman is your grandmother, a woman is your auntie, a woman is your lover, a woman is your wife. These few things will tell you if a woman's mind is being pushed out of line and on the wall when she decides on things, she's going to do these things. We were pushed away on that day, I told you, by anti-riot. They arrested the lawyers, they arrested a lame woman. I later learned she was Sare Peru. They arrested some people, but we came back. I think the following day, Stella Nyanzi was back. You said I had been given a letter to an appointment to change the date. They admitted that it was their fault that we came today and the meeting was tomorrow, because they said there was miscommunication in the date. We said we shall put a date that all of us shall agree upon. I had a lawyer, she's called Lillian Drabo, in presence. When we made these sort of, mimicked diplomatic arrangements with the PA, I told him, please, I do not want to say these things just by me.
So how did you get the police to allow you finally?
Finally, I will say that it was pushing. We came a third time after the arrests and anti-riot police and whatever. We came a second time, we came a third time. The third time we had been informed by the PA to IGP that they were ready for a few women to draw an agenda on what we were coming to do. Still, when we got there, my fellow Nalongo's vehicle was vandalized and she was lifted by forklift in the car.
Right at the police station.
Right at
police
the
headquarters.
entrance of the police headquarters of a nation. There was a woman, a mother, being lifted in her vehicle. When she said, "You invited me here, I am getting in here because you invited me, I could have had other things to do, I am coming in."
You had a mission to
We
bring...
pushed past that.
Yes, you had a mission to bring the nation's attention to the killings of women.
Yes,
Did you achieve that?
we did right yesterday, and of that we are very proud. We pushed. That's the third time. The fourth time we visit the police, we are looked down upon by right from the entrance. One person is asking Dr. Stella Nyanzi, "Do you even have a husband? Look at you." I mean, and with me, I would get this passionate. I would be like, why is a public
just
office
yes.
treating a woman that has not insulted them?
But
She's only asking to see someone.
How, Nana, and I want to bring in Rosebell as well, how is that related to the mission that you call this demonstration, to call attention to the killings of women? What you went through, how is that related?
I think it's very important to know that not only women held a successful march and protested the killings and kidnappings of women and raping of women. It was the first time that actually a consistent group of Ugandans who are not, funded by an NGO coming from. It's just a group of people who wanted this conversation to really go to the right place, and they were consistent. And in a long time, we have not had a peaceful protest in this town. Every time you try, there's anti-riot police, and there's rioting. Instead, it's a riot, And somehow Ugandans have become very scared of expressing themselves. We have POMA, all these hurdles. One of the lawyers had to be made to write that she's personally responsible.
To commit. That's
Yes.
the requirement of the Public Order Management Act.
Yes.
And the funniest requirements, the one that I really want to put forward, she had to commit that Dr. Stella Nyanzi would not take the podium to say a word. If she allowed for Stella to say anything, she would be held responsible for
And
that.
did Stella Nyanzi comply with that?
No.
No.
She spoke?
Because it's
She
a
did.
protest, Charles. The thing is that
To an extent, she did.
when you
To an
look,
extent, she
at
did.
how they've deployed POMA in the past and successfully quelled Ugandans from expressing themselves, for me, this was a success not only because we were talking about women's, the cause for women and calling for more protection of women, we also tasted that you should be able to push that law, that we
Rosebell,
Ugandans have a right to protest.
build this
There are
protest,
things.
just a moment, you build this protest as a million-woman march. You had not 1,000 people
May I
demonstrating
take that?
yesterday.
Yes,
May
so
I take
I
this?
would like to say that when you have a police pushing you, arresting the women that are trying to get the permission. I'm trying to talk about the history of POMA and how Ugandans have been pushed away from expressing themselves. A lot of people say, I want to come, but I don't want to be tear gassed. I want to express myself, but I don't want to be in a riot. And the riot will happen if the police does not give permission. And indeed, the letter came, you know what time it came? You were
Close
covering
to
this.
7.
To 7.
I
So
received
how are you
this
supposed-
letter.
7 on
Yes.
Friday.
How are you supposed to
7 on
organize?
Friday, we
Yes.
had to go through KCCA clearance, we had to go through Kampala, Metropolitan
Police.
Yes, I remember sending a border person with a responsible person with this letter. Make sure, what's his name, Kafero, receives this
Personally.
soon as possible. I didn't know the border guy. I told him.
Where in this conversation is the plight of those women?
But Charles,
Yes.
and that's the issue. I was almost tempted to say, leave the issue of the women to the women, because they know they are seeing best. But I think part of the problem is in trying to isolate the plight of the women victims of the killings from other general killings is precisely what perhaps you saw in the turnout. I think this was a genuine concern but the organizers need not to try and make it really a women problem.
Peter, I would like to jump in because you're talking about
we did not make this about the women.
I would like to
invited every policeman we met. We've met during these arrests. We have told everyone in every gender that you are welcome to identify with the women that we believe are your mothers, are your sisters, and are your daughters.
I think where I would like to guide you in case you. Yes, I'm giving you guidance. I'm giving you guidance because why it was a women,
why it was focused on women.
Focused on women. Women have been raped. The sticks have been planted into their private parts. There's a specific gender crime when you rape a woman and kill her. You're trying to make a specific statement that is away from the normal murder that we understand.
I'm not disagreeing with
you. So I'm not saying you disagree. I'm saying that our cause. I'm saying that our cause is pegged. No, I'm saying that our cause. That when you look at the victims, 42 victims, women victims, their breast cut off, they have been raped. It's a consistent certain targeting of women, and we wanted to have that message out.
No, and whether can you hear Ona out? Can he make his point and then you can respond?
One of the problems also, while it is fine to petition the police, you're almost falling in the same trap which I thought the president also fell in, of looking at this issue purely from what government can do. And that is basically trying to cure it without looking at the causes. And I think if we also looked at the causes, it is not purely a police problem, and it's not purely a government problem.
What is it then?
There are issues that stem from the society, and your movement also needs to address
what are the things? Who has inflicted these things on the society?
What are these things? Why you use general terms like things? Tell us what are the root causes of the violence.
I also want to add this question to Ana
If you have delinquency in families where some of the killers emerge from, some of the rapists emerge from, what is causing this delinquency? What is causing social dislocation in societies?
Ona, don't you think
you cannot police everything?
Ona, don't you think that for a woman, a sister, a mother, their brother, their husband, their father, they cannot answer the question of societal delinquency? They need to ask someone to give them those answers.
But I'm saying and that someone is not necessarily the police. The police is to catch the delinquent. But the police
we have a constitution, we have laws. No, Charles, we have a constitution, we have laws. Let's not get sidetracked here. We have a constitution, we have laws. We expect the minimum, at least. In the past, when women have been killed, the first question is like, she was a person.
But remember,
even when, let me tell you,
even when, the most efficient police.
We are not even there. Don't dream. Do not dream. Don't take me to dreams.
The same police.
Don't have even the minimum.
The same police, he says we should not take every issue to. The same police has these units. To begin with, on our agenda, I personally added that the police gives us the role of the Family and Child Protection Unit. The police has also, what is it called? Community policing. Are these officers even approachable? What are the successes of these officers so far? Before you come to society, the police has these units and they are greatly funded. But I will give you examples of so many women, including police women, that have called my phone at midnight. Nana, I know you to be very strong to talk about women issues. What drove me there? Because of what I've gone through trying to have the police help me somewhere, and I'll be termed. Look at her.
But we need to remember that actually the Internal Affairs Minister told this country that Illuminati was behind the killing. So we cannot joke when we talk about calling the public officials to really be serious about murders of women and other Ugandans, because the murder of women is not happening in isolation. Indeed, we acknowledge that it's not in isolation.
So just before I take a break, do you think your message was delivered?
It was, and we'll continue to deliver it. It was not a one-day
act. I'm only saying
we had so many activities that were interrupted by the police behavior.
You need to deliver a similar message to society.
You need
Okay.
to. You
Not just
will.
police.
We did this. We did this at the march.
You need to
We did
organize
When we
society.
converged at Centenary Park,
The ladies and the
our chair put it across to the community. She said
Your
security
movement
is
must
we.
go and organize the
But Napito, we
mother.
are not
I
here
have
to
had-
get orders. You are also part of this country. You can find how you can
Honourable
contribute.
people should not
we
worry
need to
about
take a quick
this.
commercial break. Ladies, we need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back,
Don't worry
I
about
said
that.
at the introduction that your march was a march of 1,000 with 1,000 intentions.
Yes.
You had activists for LGBTQI rights. Is that the full thing? It's a mouthful. LGBTQI and
Who are those?
coming in. You had prostitutes,
They're called sex workers.
sex workers coming in.
Who else
What
did we
exactly?
have?
Yes.
Who else
what
did we
exactly?
have?
What exactly did you intend? Who was this?
Activists
In
to
the-
groups.
So
Who else?
Why you
And
identifying
that's
those
part of the
two?
problem.
Because those are the ones that have
The
been
message can
talked
be
about.
spoiled by
Charles,
the
Didn't you get
messenger.
the
Yes,
message?
I understand
lost?
it.
Didn't you get your message
Charles.
lost? Can we answer this after a very short commercial
Yes.
break?
Okay.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. This last segment of the Fourth Estate. It's heated up with the women activists. With the activists, I'm being careful not to box them into a corner of being women activists. The activists Nana and Rosebell, and of course myself and Onapito, to discuss the women's protest yesterday against the killings of women. Let's first put some facts together. One, it's a fact that at least 42 women are on record having been murdered, especially in areas of Entebbe and Nansana, brutal murders that involved raping them and stuffing objects into their private parts, which was viewed. The president went there, the former IGP went there, and other people are concerned because it appeared to be targeted and systematic. The only unfortunate thing was that they were classified. I think the police, the former IGP, said the women that were being killed were prostitutes and some of them were being killed by their lovers. That investigation hasn't been concluded as of now, so there is no answer to Ugandans on who exactly was killing those women and why they were being killed. Number two, the kidnaps for ransom that have ended in murder have largely targeted women and children so far, and that also is demanding for answers. Onapito, you're talking about broadening this discussion. I mean the focus for the women activists. Yes, there have been murders. There were murders of mobile money kiosk runners. There were murders of taxi drivers before. There were murders, the murder of Ekalungar, the accountant of, there have been murders, the assassinations of especially men, Muslim clerics.
There was the murder of my nephew, a small boy, 4 years, daytime. They have that bravery.
So there are those questions, but those questions must be located to some authority even before you turn to society, because that's the reason government does exist. Raising these concerns to government. So Nana and Rosebell, I think I want to agree with you that there is some authority that must provide answers. It may not resolve the issue, but it must be able to provide answers and provide some comfort to the general public, because individuals, until you mobilize like you did, may not be able to find those answers for yourselves. But one of the major criticisms that have come out of your demonstration yesterday is that you went in with one intention and carried in very many other hidden intentions. How will the police, how will the authorities trust you next time to say, if you say you're going to demonstrate about one thing, you're actually going to demonstrate about that and not others?
Charles, if I may, is that
Sure.
from the police that they don't trust us? Because we had the police, we marched with them.
No, I'm saying
they were satisfied that
what-
we actually we actually followed the rules and we ended our march on time. We were peaceful. They were amazed that
Is
there was
the
not-
conclusion
I'm
that
sorry,
we were
you know,
about another agenda
other agenda.
made by really credible people, or the same Ugandans with a mentality, the same Ugandans that will even receive something to discredit Because I sit on this board, if I may call it a board, I sit on this, this table where these 17 women said, look, if we are going to have women die, if we are going to have Nana, the businesswoman that must drive to a certain place at this time, and she must bring it to a later time because she's afraid to be out there by herself. If we have students, maybe S4, S6 candidates, P7, that must be at school earlier than the normal time and maybe leave later in a bid to perform better, if we have them thinking, what do we do about people's children? If we have all these issues arising from this, people fear to go to their businesses early, they want to leave the businesses very early because they want to be safe, they are afraid. If we have something as big as that, because you realize this will affect the economy. Here is a woman, you already have 4 taxes on her and 1,000 indirect ones. She's paying almost 5,000 for a liter of fuel. She's paying almost 5,000 for a loaf of bread. A liter of milk in Uganda, where people boast to have farms that even export milk. A liter of milk in Uganda is 2,500, 800. It's insane.
It's about
so if you're
2,800,
going to have
3,000.
an economic situation like that, and then you have people that are afraid to go to work at a certain time and leave work at a certain time, and then you bring in, you talked of the prostitutes. If you have a society that never even checks, why do you have a certain number of women going to do this really uncomfortable job? Going to, you know, out of their way to line the streets and call someone.
By the way, former IGP asked the sex workers to actually help him investigate the crime.
If you are going to have a society where things are that
out.
heated up, and then the same society of the women that are trying to keep these ends meeting, you should make a survey and know how many women in Uganda are actually the ones making the children remain in school, the rents paid. Try on that some other day. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. But if we are going to have this whole situation having a threat as you cannot be a bartender and leave the bar at 11 because someone might wait for you and kill you. How much passion do you think is in the hearts of these prostitutes? Because they do their work late. I'm not, what do they call them? Maybe sex worker is a more decent thing. I'm sorry to say prostitute. But how do you relate the passion of a sex worker with that of a reverend's wife, a pastor's wife, an honorable's wife? We invited everyone. We met with the IGP. We had a team of lawyers. They were all afraid to come. I came to a boardroom full of men and maybe a couple of 3 women, to the entire 20-something police heads. We were late because Dr. Stella Nyanza's vehicle had been intercepted by the traffic, asking why it was looking vandalized, but the police had done that to her vehicle. Yes, they broke the glass. They did terrible things to it. They opened all the locks. Anyways, I come to this boardroom. I'm one single woman. I don't even have a title. I stand before them to keep the time, let the others come. Why do you think I get this passion?
Where do you get the passion? Should tell.
Because we feel pushed to the limit. I must fend for children. Which children have a father? Which father? The law. The law that even puts in place a unit in police, child and family protection unit. How much money is allocated to this? Can you try and marry this allocation of funds to this unit to how much success it has about getting the men in society own up to these children?
Nana, I wanted to add, for example...
Are you going to blame the sex workers on being just naturally immoral? A situation is pushing them to do that. If I wasn't Nana who pushes and I must, you know, sell this, I'll probably end up on the same street. With these taxes, I'll probably, I do not know. Who knows what's really happening in the woman's life.
You know,
The ordinary woman.
Charles, I wanted to add, basically, if you came to the march, they were university students, they were family victims, people
Families
from,
that have lost.
Yes, they. So
That have been
I am not going to give in to distractors because someone who was there, you don't agree with their politics or you don't agree their being. I was not there to police anyone's life.
Okay.
I was there to say, are you there with one voice? There were victims, there were university students from Makerere, and if you look at the victims list we have, university students, young people, you know, old women, every woman of all age has been a victim, and we were looking for women who are coming to support. So it's very simple for anybody to sit back and see women on the streets and then criticize.
Okay,
You know,
Honor raised
we have
something.
to go
Honor raised
beyond
something
that.
that you need to.
Have you
Just a moment.
Tight
Just a
their
moment.
shoes are fitting.
Yes.
There is a saying in Swahili. Eh?
You
Kila
can
mtu ndiye anajua which way kiatu yake inamfinya. Viatu zangu zimenifinya. How tight are my shoes fitting for me to find myself at a rally or at a demonstration which is being turned out to be LGBT, prostitution. I'm not a prostitute, but I can hug. Sorry, I keep calling them prostitutes.
Sex workers.
I can hug a sex worker. I can hug a sister who is called a lesbian. I don't do what she does, but I have no business pointing at her. I don't know how she's there. So for you to come and say, did we have another agenda? Did we have another situation and then we hid it behind? Somebody commented on FB, oh, they mocked the memories of the dead. I have a dead child from my family, kidnapped broad daylight. Ryan Itaji Banjirana was abducted at his gate at around 4, murdered. And the murderer had the confidence to bring the little body and drop it at the driveway for his parents' house. Where is this coming from? Society morals eroded. He said so. When the immorals are eroded, do they think anyone can check their behaviors? Do they know that anyone can check their behavior? How can they know if, for example, very recently, our activities met with some certain successes? We are still being pushed by the police to petition them on security for women and therefore security for Ugandans. Abiriga gets shot dead. We have a day to, expecting our letter being met, maybe with the same hospitality it was met by the deputy Umwana Mbamweto Hasabiti. He met us, he made us feel at home in a conference with police. But later they turn around. No, no such thing can be done. I remember hearing the minutes written by IGP. The security ministers have addressed this. The president on the 20th repeated the same thing. No such thing will be done. And the same day we get these minutes, after Ruckus 2, we waited 2 hours with Dr. Stella Nyanzi to see the direct operations who dodged us, and they kept telling us, different lies. And then at the top of 2 hours, Stella is like, Nana, do you feel as angry as I feel? She set an alarm. Why am I sitting here?
I saw the video clip.
Why am I sitting here for 2 hours to meet someone in a public office? Someone that I have called 20 times.
Yeah. I think it's a very
The whole floor is out to look at us as crazy women.
I hear you.
Let me conclude it. The passion that brings the sex worker, LGBT, and maybe a businesswoman, Nana, and another random person on the street, that passion is coming from how tight are their shoes fitting. For example, we invited many people. We were asked by the police, give us a chief worker. We thought, we tried
to think about a chief worker.
Chief workers. We even sent messages to them. Maybe if we should not embarrass them. Honorables. Who of them showed up?
Okay, now can I come in there? And I imagine some of them were women. And that's, it means that the women movement, if you are calling this a movement, unfortunately it's also divided on this issue. Because And that is a challenge you have. I'm just saying you need.
I would like to say that we are not here to talk about, you're not going to be analyzing what we are here as Ugandans. The fact that in the same week we have opposition members are being threatened. We are still living in a place where everybody is being threatened.
I'm saying,
so you should not.
If you are violent in the way you present your case, it can only result
Violent
in
to
a
your
violent
If we
society.
are what?
Violent to
If
who?
we are what?
If you don't want discourse,
Who has received
if you want to
violence from
shout
us?
down your opponent, then I'm not surprised
No,
you are
who
getting the
has
problem.
received
that-
violence?
Hold it a moment. Honor.
I think
Honor, do you think
who has
we make a
suffered
mistake?
violence?
Do you think we make a mistake
Who?
to box in the discussion to classify this as a women's issue?
exactly.
Well, the women have classified it as a women issue.
Oh my God.
No.
This
They are
is
saying
horrible.
that the women are
know-
being targeted.
Is that a fact?
It is the
So,
issue.
is
but
that
it's-
based on a
it's-
fact?
it's
These
on only a-
people's shoes do not fit as tight as the shoes of a sex worker or the
Please,
shoes
Charles,
of
Charles.
an
I am
no,
not
no.
disagreeing
I-
with,
son,
with
I
every.
will-
So I would excuse
The
him.
problem is, the
Nana,
I
problem
would
Well,
is-
can-
excuse him if he thinks a
Like-
certain way
I'm
of
not.
this.
But you see,
His
the point
shoes
is,
don't fit
Le-
as
le-
tight as mine.
Let him make his point.
You are
Honor, go ahead and make your
comfortable.
point.
No, can we?
You can be
Can-
given,
Nana,
you can
Charles,
be given
Nana, please.
military
Charles,
when a
Charles,
police
please.
bodyguard
On this
says,
issue-
I'm not going to work
Charles.
with an MP, you have the privilege to be given a military bodyguard. Do I have that privilege? I don't.
Okay, let's hear Honor out.
I doubt you can hear me out, by the way.
We're
shall.
listening.
Because as soon as I open my mouth, I'm cut short.
Okay.
We shall.
No, I'll protect you.
We
So
shall
go ahead
hear.
and make your point.
I'm not.
Nana?
I'm not disagreeing with the noble cause of the march. I'm only saying, how do we make it bigger? So when I suggest, for example, that you have other women who have not yet bought into, and you need to get them in, you think I'm disagreeing with you?
We
What's
would like
wrong
to
with
hear
that?
They are
from you.
not- they are
excuse
not
me.
failing
hold it,
to
hold
buy
it,
into-
hold it, hold it,
Excuse
hold
me,
it.
They are
Nana.
not failing to buy into.
Nana,
One of the reasons.
Nana, we had
No,
an
no,
agreement.
let's-
We had an
let-
agreement.
let's- yeah.
We had an agreement that we listen to Honor.
We
Yeah.
called it
No, no.
a 10,000
A
women
million.
march.
You called it a
You
million women.
said it's a march that did not bring 1,000. We get a letter only hours to it. They are daring us to clear with the KCC and clear with the owner of Centenary Kirumira, which we did. I told you the passion of a woman, especially.
But
Thank you,
But
thank you.
Honor, I wanted to
Rosebel,
respond
Rosebel,
Rosebel,
briefly.
don't respond. I'm
Yeah,
also saying.
briefly on the issue
no,
that
that's
the
all.
fact that our
Let's look
security.
at
Rosebel
this
and,
as-
and Nana, can
For
you
me,
first listen?
I
Let him
still
make his
want
point
to
and then you respond
return
at once.
Not to say there is no responsibility for police.
Okay.
They have, absolutely. That's why they are there, and we should hold them responsible. But I'm also saying, for example, long term, and really, I do not believe, I even disagree with the prescriptions. The president, okay, gave good prescriptions for crime, but he did not address the root cause of crime. So you run a crisis whereby you can jail as many as you want, but you will still have crime. And this is not unique to Uganda. You need to deal with the causes of crime, the causes of delinquency, the causes of rape. Getting police to be as efficient, arrest, take to court, take to prison, you will just be having more coming.
Okay,
to the
I would
street.
thank you.
like to
Thank you.
respond.
Just
So,
a
for
moment,
example,
just a
what's the role of
Just a
the
moment.
family here? Your
Just a moment.
movement,
Hold it.
for all its
Hold
noble
it, hold it.
causes,
Let
should
him-
expand to make sure that you get every mother, for example, to do her best. I know they are doing their best to make sure that you raise a son
We are.
who will not become a rapist.
We are.
This is not entirely a police solution.
We are.
It's not a police
I
solution.
think
We are.
I think we are.
Okay.
Nana, if I could respond
Nana,
to
hold it,
this,
yes.
you know, it's very important.
So there
to
should
know,
be a
it's-
discourse
It's very
among women
important to
themselves.
know that there are certain roles of the police. There are certain emergency response that is required when there's a descent in national security, in the security of women. That you cannot tell me when women are being killed. That, oh, first go and talk to people about delinquency. No,
I
there are
have not
certain.
said that
I'm
you
not
are-
saying you.
I say
but,
the
but I
police has
am
its
making my
role.
point. I'm saying that there are places for that conversation. Our target is the fact that institutions have not responded well, and we would like them to respond well, and we would like to see the police take these cases as important, as we have seen the president give extra security to, you know, high-level MPs and all this. We would like him to actually assure this country that we are going to see more and more, interventions that are improving our security, not just for top level people, but for all Ugandans. Because women's security, why I'm saying that women organize this protest, but women's security is not a woman's only issue.
Thank you. Can I check? Let me check. Just a moment. Just a moment. I would like to check if I have some calls. I would like to take a few calls to hear what our viewers have to say. I haven't been able to pick messages on social media today. I know some people are having issues with
You haven't paid your tax.
Eh? I haven't paid my tax, I must confess. And I haven't been... I did succeed in bypassing for a moment, but it's a tax...
You haven't defied. No defiance yet.
It's a tax I'm not willing to pay, so my defiance... yes, it stands. I think it's a stupid tax, and whoever dreamt about it, I think, was thinking in a different way.
Should wake up.
Yes, they should wake up from their dream. It's insane.
Insane is the word.
And on the question of the women, I do not think that this should be looked at. The degeneration of society is degeneration of society. Women are only victims.
Yeah.
They are not the cause of it, and they cannot just
Some
be looked.
women also perpetrators.
Yes, they cannot be looked to find solutions because we have institutions that must find those solutions.
Which
the
women
church,
are you talking about? Not being looked to find
no,
solutions.
If the women hold positions of responsibility, I think at your protest yesterday, you should have called out the women who occupy that privileged,
Yes.
special elected seats in elective offices to be able to stand up and be counted on this. I'm now sharing my own opinion on this. If there are important women in this country who hold important offices, the time for them to come out should have been now.
Yeah.
But the government cannot keep promising to provide security without providing that security. At a bare minimum, the responsibility, I know the amazing police men and women who spend sleepless nights, and even in other security agencies, spend sleepless nights trying to find answers.
They're putting
There
their
is
lives
need,
at stake
yes,
with the little
there is need
to do it.
for answers to be provided, for at least a single case to be broken and closed. The little boy, the little Ryan, you talked about, one case needs to be
his
closed
parents
fully.
needed to pay to buy fuel in a police truck. This is I'm not saying this. I mentioned this at the meeting with the deputy IGP, and we had Madame Makulo and another one, and you see her trying to bring in her CI dairy, CI dairy, da. You need to mention where this happened. Like I was trying to lie about my own family dying, and the police asking for facilitation to go and investigate this, and for someone to take suspects at court, and for suspects to be released because they paid something. That is how bad it is. And
Okay.
for Ryan, I am going to say things to power.
Okay. Do I have any callers? Okay. If we don't have any coming through now, because I think we kept the line closed for long, we will be able to conclude this discussion. And I have a simple question.
Something small to the police. He said, we, the women, haven't said this is entirely police responsibility. For example, I was honored to be invited at another talk show some 2 weeks ago, where I saw one member of parliament and the police spokesman. They said what they said. It was the start of people talking about the raising insecurity, especially against women. I asked one question. Is the police, in its capacity as the police, well equipped to actually tackle or take on these investigations? The man's answer was a straight no. That is why it will bring me to him. We are not even putting the police. You're the ones. You're the ones. These men, like I told you, in the investigations of my nephew's murder daytime, they had to ask for facilitation from a man that has lost his son. Is the policeman being very mean as to do that, or does he completely not have
The means.
the means?
Okay. One simple question to the ladies in studio, and we're getting out of here. What next?
I will add mine. I would want for our leaders to know especially those in charge of security, that for there to be any form of positive change in the state of things, first, some things have to be brought to a stop. Certain mentalities have to be helped to come to a stop. We as the Women Protest Working Group have decided if there have been things getting in our way to try and express how we feel, to try and tell the ones who take us how we feel and what's happening, there are things we have to bring to an end. I have termed it as necessary endings for any situation to move forward, especially in a positive direction. We have to first put to an end certain mentalities that if Dr. Stella Nyanzi walks in a place, it's going to be shouting, it's going to be vulgarities. These are poems, this is literature, which seems to wake people up. Women out there, maybe the men who feel that they can relate to what we are going through as mothers of this nation, who have birthed you and married you and befriended you, we are very determined through our various activities planned. Some of these activities were interrupted by police behavior toward us. Some of them have been interrupted by a letter being sent to the Parliament to meet WOPA, and they decide if these women, there is a name like Dr. Stella Nyanzi, we want nothing to do with you. These mentalities, these fears, fellow women in Uganda, we have to bring them to an end.
Thank you. Rosbeth?
I think it's very important that we address people who are trying to detract, like, without doing anything. For me, if you don't agree with Stella's language, tell me what you agree with. What are you doing about it? It's not enough to discredit or disagree with people. You have to deploy your own tactics because you are a citizen and you have to tell me what is your due. The only reason you are a citizen of this country is that you can hold people accountable, that you can show up when there is a cause to be supported. And it's not enough to discredit whoever is trying to do something. And for the women in Parliament, you're really missing an important moment because you're there because you were given a certain quota that you represent the women of this country. And if you do not do this, I think there are repercussions. You cannot continue to take us for granted.
When they asked for the vote, they did not specify if they would sieve out the votes, to not take the vote from a sex worker, to not take out the vote from a lesbian, to not take out the vote from a low-ranking woman in society.
Honor, last word on this.
Okay,
on social media, social media tax and the women.
Social media, my position is still the same, that of course government will have its way in terms of taxation. We can have our way in terms of making it account for that taxes.
And also in defining.
And that's why Ugandans, especially
the
elite Ugandans.
Government will have its way in form of taxation.
Okay.
You don't care if you milk the cow until you have blood running.
Nana,
you are going to
Nana, we're closing the show, so let him have his closing moment.
My point. On the issue of women, I think
it's
a noble cause,
Thank you.
but it may have to reduce it appearing like a battle with the police or with the government.
We object because the police gave us...
The police
we are working with the police. We object. Your basis of argument.
Hold it.
A battle with the crime and the criminals.
Yeah, and that's what we are doing. If it appears to you like a battle with the police,
without necessarily speaking for them, is not
one of the you can't speak for the police. We are already with them.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Honor. Our time is out. We need to get out of here. Personally, I have issues with seeking permission from the police.
Yes. Police has some great men, notably Afande Kasinje Hassan. These are great men. You see them, they have a heart for their country. They have a heart for a woman, a random woman that shows up and says things. Police has some great men.
And women. And women. Okay. And the entire spectrum of security agencies have people who really, working as a journalist and interacting with many of them, the people working at this hour.
a system
to
that's
try
not
and secure
working.
the lives of Ugandans. Though sometimes, a lot of times they fall short. And you talked about women in parliament. They're elected women at every level. And those also pick the vote. They
Yes.
need to be able,
Important.
you need to be able to call
Yes,
them out.
Yes.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much, Nana, Annette, for making time for the show. Thank you very much, Rosebel Kagume, for making time for the show. And thank you very much, Peter Komole. Thank you very much to you all our viewers for joining us tonight. And always, this debate continues. The debate about security, not just of women, but specifically for women because of what has been going on and of all Ugandans. Social media attacks. We will provide a discussion on the state of the economy. Like I said at the beginning of the show, that the exchange rate of the Ugandan currency to other foreign currencies, not just the dollar, but the pound sterling, the euro, and other major currencies of the world, including regional currencies, is something we need to debate. The president has been trying to discourage us from debating the the debt levels of this country. Technically still within a comfort zone. Under 40%, about 38%, I think.
Depends on your comfort in the pocket.
No, 38%. The national debt, that's where it stands, which is comfortable because the East African regional average should be 50. So, safe, but if the top item on your national budget is debt servicing, then you have questions to answer. And of course, which also spills into the taxation regime that we have.
The overdrive we are
yes,
seeing.
and the question is, if you're taxing, where is the money going? Is it going to investment or is it going to consumption? Because cost of living is already very high, as we have seen with all these increments for public servants and the inflation for goods. You talked about the fuel. Thank you very much to the production crew that stay up late to deliver the show to you. From me, it's a good night.